The thing about the script, which is so exciting, is that there's three different worlds in this story, which sew into each other.
It's told from the point of view of the women's libbers. It's told from the point of view of Bob Hope, who was the host of that year's Miss World, and the point of view of the Miss World contestants.
For a lot of women, it was a platform and an opportunity. You know, Jennifer was the first woman of colour to win Miss World.
It's quite surprising to watch now, and you kind of do feel like, wow, this is really of another time.
Just a statutory padding check, dear.
Good afternoon. This is Tanish Laverne Grant with BlackInAmerica.com. Super excited to bring another amazing guest to the platform, Philippa Lowthorpe, who is an amazing director, the first woman ever to win a BAFTA. You know, and we'll get into that a little later, but she is the director of a brand new film called Misbehavior, starring one of my favorite all-time actresses, two actually, Keira Knightley and Gugu Mbatha Raw. You guys, this is a must-see film. It addresses feminism and racism and class. It's an amazing film based on the Miss World pageant of the 1970s. And as you all know, I'm a former pageant girl, a former Miss Cheney University of Pennsylvania, which is the oldest HBCU. I'm also a former Miss Black Pennsylvania, and I also participated in the Miss Black USA pageant and other pageants, but those are like the major ones. So this story touched my heart in such a magnificent way. Philippa, what did it mean to you to become attached to this project and to tell this story, you know, 50 years later, you know, after the Miss World pageant, you know, which brought about, you know, so many difficult conversations. There were women who decided to take matters into their own hands, you know, during this very critical time in the women's movement. They didn't really know that they were making history. They were just really, you know, advocating for what it meant and what womanness means and womanhood means. You know, and so now here we are 50 years later, there's a film about this. This is pretty remarkable.
It is. It felt like the perfect story, because not only were these bunch of young women deciding to do this mad crazy thing and invade the stage and bring Miss World to its knees, but also the story of the contestants and the first Black woman ever to have won Miss World at the same time. And not only that, another Black woman came second. So this seemed like a perfect story to me to explore feminism and the early roots of women's liberation, and also what did it mean to overthrow the ideal of Western beauty in this one event. So it felt like a gift of a story, and very nice to look back 50 years and see how bad everything was then, but also to reflect now, oh my God, how far have we really come and how far have we still got to go? So that's why I really wanted to make this story.
What is amazing too is that it's, you know, the women, it's a production that is ran by women. You know, let's talk about, you know, getting women on board in those key positions to get this film done. You know, how did you get that to gel and to take place? Because that's really hard, Philippa.
Really hard. It's really hard. And also this film took about 10 years from the producer having the idea to it getting to the screen. Took 10 years. And it began with our brilliant producer, Suzanne Mackey, who also produces The Crown.
Right, that you did 2 episodes on The Crown, correct?
I did 2 episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
She twisted my arm to come and play on The Crown. Yes, Suzanne, it's her determination, really, and her tenacity of holding this story to her heart and doggedly pursuing the writing of it with Rebecca Frayne and Gabby Chappie, and then getting a financier on board. And I think personally that things shifted a little bit when Me Too happened. So suddenly people were interested in women's stories, which before they thought nobody was going to watch or nobody was going to take any notice of. So that helped. That helped us get this project off the ground. And what's brilliant about it, it's produced by women, it's directed by a woman, it's written by women, and nearly all of the HODs on the project were women. Our one token man was the
Wow,
DOP.
a token man. Imagine that. Imagine that, Philippa. I love that you phrased it that way. The token man. Wow.
I know. It's a bit getting our own back, isn't it? We had a wonderful a chap, Zach Nicholson, who was our DOP, but he also made sure that in his team he had lots of women, which doesn't always happen on camera teams. It's often very male, but he was brilliant. He's got 3 daughters himself. He thought this was a very important story to tell. So in his team, he had lots of women, and it was a very equal and racially diverse team of people making this film, both behind the camera and in front of the camera as well.
It's such a remarkable story. You know, what impressed you most about Jennifer Hostin, you know, the woman who won Miss World 1970, who is being portrayed by Gugu Mbatha-Raw in the film?
I think I was impressed by Jennifer's sense of determination that she described in her life, that she had this, and that she's carried it through into the rest of her life, that when she was at the Miss World contest, she had everything stacked against her and people telling her that she wouldn't win because she was black, and she really did have that happen to her. And then she had this steely bit inside her that thought, I am going to try my very, very best. I am not going to be put down by these people, and I am going to quietly try and win. And she did. And I think that is incredible. And I think she's used that she's also an incredibly intelligent woman. She's used that determination to power herself in her life, you know, becoming a diplomat and doing everything she did. And for a woman to do that in 1970, to win Miss World and then go on to achieve what she achieved is quite awe-inspiring, I have to say.
Just speaking with her today, I was humbled just to be in her presence, and of course to be in your presence too, you know, because it's great to sit and just chat with women who are trailblazers, who are making things happen, not just for themselves, but for generations and generations of women who are coming behind them. You know, the beauty of our life is like, when we're in it and living this life and going through these experiences, we don't know how they're going to inspire. We don't know how our life and the choices that we make could really be beneficial to somebody, you know, years and years and years and years and years down the pipeline. Like, that's just amazing, you know? So, you know, getting Gugu Mbatha-Raw and Keira Knightley, you know, 2 powerful women in Hollywood, how did that happen for you guys? Like, was Gugu Mbatha-Raw someone, you know, at the top of your mind for this? You know, I heard what Jennifer had to say about how it came to be, how she actually, I believe Jennifer manifested Gugu to portray her, you know, just listening to her tell the story. But from your perspective, you know, how did Gugu Mbatha-Raw come to play Jennifer?
We were so lucky with our casting. We worked with the wonderful Nina Gold, who does The Crown and many other big movies and Game of Thrones and all those great things. And she's a fantastic casting director. And our first thought to play Jennifer was Gugu. Wow. And so I wrote her a very slurpy, we call it in the UK, letter saying, I love you. I love everything you do. Please, please, would you consider playing this role? And Gugu is a very political person in her own right. You know, she's a fighter for other people's rights, and she was very attracted to this story, not only for the story of Jennifer, but also for the story of Pearl, who came second, because Gugu's dad is from South Africa, and so she had a very, very strong affinity with that story as well, and she thought it was very important to tell those stories. And when we met to discuss her playing the part, I thought even more that she was just so perfect. And I when she was chatting about all her ideas about how to portray Jennifer and her political thought about it, I thought, I just really want you to do it so much. And
Wow.
she said yes. So that was fantastic. And the same for Keira Knightley.
Yeah.
Keira is a very clever person, and I think it's not always fashionable for women to be very beautiful and very clever. And she's both.
Not.
It's
It's
not.
not,
And
Khalifa, even in 2020.
even in 2020. But one of the things I love about Keira is that she is really, really clever. And I think she's an amazing actor and an artist. And they both, Gugu and she, are true artists. And Jessie Buckley too brings another flavour to the party. And they're all very distinct personalities and flavours and vivid. And they bring all that into the film, which is marvellous.
You know, what do you want women to walk away with after seeing this film? You know, I know as a woman who saw pageantry as an opportunity, you know, it existed for me as a conduit between where I was and where I wanted it to be, and where I wanted to be. A lot of times pageants, you know, they have a stigma attached to them. But for many women, you know, who are looking to obtain resources, financial aid assist, to attend college, pageants are a great opportunity for that. You know, so in terms of the mixed messaging that exists about pageantry, you know, what do you want women to walk away with just in terms of how they might see, you know, the pageant world? You know, because it really isn't all negative, you know.
I totally agree with you. And that's something that really, in researching this film, I came to understand very clearly that for women, it was a chance to get on in their lives, to join a pageant, just as you've brilliantly described. And that for me, it was very, very important to respect that view and
Right.
to show the girls who are the contestants as human beings who are striving for themselves to make something of themselves. And that was, to me, is just as important a story to tell as the feminist story of the young liberation. So that's why in our film we try and tell both sides of that story, and that to respect that view as well, and to tell a complex story so we don't come down on the side of either party. Right. We want to understand what motivates them, and as Jennifer says in the film, her role as the first Black woman to win Miss World was really inspiring. She told this beautiful, moving story.
Philippa, I'm sorry to cut you off, but Philippa, it's because we're still having so many firsts. You know, we had a recent watershed moment, you know, last year with 5 Black women, you know, holding 5 major titles in the pageant system, you know. And so for many women, like I said, pageantry is an opportunity.
Exactly.
You know, it is a gateway, it is an entree to something so big, something that so many otherwise wouldn't even have the opportunity. You know, pageants are like sports. You know, how young men look to sports, you know, young women look to pageantry.
I really agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. And you are a living example of that.
Wait, I had to bring my sash out.
Somebody who's been in pageants.
I brought it out with Jennifer. You know, when I was at Cheney University, Cheney University of Pennsylvania is the oldest historical Black college, founded in 1837. You know, and the HBCU system really is the pride and the apple of African American culture. You know, Kamala Harris, who is running for vice president, is an alum from Howard University, which is an HBCU. You know, so our pageant system is just so wonderfully woven into the tapestry of Black American culture. You know, so that's why I wanted to speak to you, and actually to speak to Jennifer as well, you know, to really speak about the positive components of it, because I don't want women to or anybody to view the film and think, oh, pageants is just this and that, and you gotta, you know, show off, and, you know, it doesn't highlight your intellect. But for many of us who have participated, it really is an opportunity for something so much bigger.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And I hope that we managed to show that in our film. I mean, even with the Miss United States character, she says, if I hadn't been in this pageant, I would just be some nobody at home in my little village where I come from, you know. And even for Pearl, the sad thing for Pearl was that she had this amazing opportunity and was thrust into the limelight. But when she went back into apartheid, because she was Black, she was literally sent into oblivion and not celebrated. Her fantastic achievement of coming second was not celebrated at all, and that is so sad. So I think it's fantastic that you did what you did, and that you had that opportunity, and we all have to find opportunities where we can.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant.
Yeah, you know, because it's like, you know, a lot of times, you know, people say to me, oh, pageants, it just pits women, you know, against one another. You know, it makes us even more competitive when we already have to be competitive. You know, what are your thoughts about, you know, women and competition and, you know, women thinking that there is never enough? Because I think sometimes that's what competition can be for some people. I believe competition can be healthy, you know, but for some people, and especially women, competition comes from a place of lack. You know, so here you are, right? You're a woman who's made history, you know, winning a BAFTA for Best Director. You know, you're making this movie, or you've made this movie, Misbehavior, you know, with women at the helm, creating spaces so that being in competition doesn't have to have such a bad or negative connotation to it, because men don't view competition the way women do it. We hear the word competition and it makes us batty and crazy. Men hear competition, they're like, yay, you know, may the best man win. You know, so do you mind just speaking a little bit about that, Philippa, and then we can wrap this up? I feel like I'm at your house and we're having tea, and I don't want to go an extended amount of time. I keep watching the clock, but I'm just having such a great time chatting with you guys today.
Well, I think what you've said is very true. I think women are scared to be openly competitive because we're not brought up to be like that. You know, maybe younger women are, but I certainly think that I was not brought up to be competitive, and I was brought up to be very modest and hide our lights under a bushel. Whereas competition gives us a chance to show ourselves, doesn't it? And to shine, and to bring out your personality, and to bring out your creative talents in whatever field, whether it's in being in a pageant or being a brilliant athlete, being a brilliant musician. Think of all the amazing, you know, musicians there are, and that's a competitive field, isn't it? Yeah. So I think it's good for women to know that it's all right to be competitive, and you can up your game, you can show your talent, and it doesn't mean you have to be hostile to other people, but you can up your game. Yeah.
Right. Iron sharpens iron, you know, iron sharpens iron. Philippa Lowthorpe, thank you so much for your time. Congratulations on Misbehavior. Congratulations on everything that you've done. All the awards, every accolade is so well deserved, you know, and I just hope that Misbehavior just leads to more and more and more and more bigger film projects for you.
That's so kind, and it's been such a pleasure talking to you. I'm fascinated to hear your story as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. Bye-bye now.
Bye. Thank you.
Whoever you agree with or whoever you sympathise with, I think it will make you question maybe what you think.
We have to keep making sure that we pose those questions, make choices for ourselves.
When people watch this film, I want them to go away feeling really inspired. A society which embraces women and their talents is a good society for everybody. It's a salutary reminder of where we've come from and how far we have to go.